So yeah, a lot of stuff happening around Cyberpunk. Let's get into the headlines right here. It says, first real teases of Cyberpunk sequel Unreal 5 potential. An official Unreal Engine 5.1 demo strangely showcases a Cyberpunk city. And this makes total sense because yes, CD Projekt RED and Epic have teamed up for Cyberpunk Orion, the sequel to 2077. And this is going to be our real first kind of tease as to what we can expect a dystopian cyberpunk city to look like on Unreal Engine 5. So that is really cool. We'll get into all the details because there's some new stuff also happening around Unreal Engine 5.1. Plus, we have this one right here, Bittersweet update about expanding Cyberpunk's interiors. CD Projekt RED gets transparent and opens up. Is there any hope at all that we would see mega building interiors and things like that? Well, I do have an update about that one. Plus, we have this one right here. Check it out. Heartfelt Takamura Easter egg gives new perspective despite Cyberpunk's dark themes. It looks like there is hope after all. So this is a really, really cool Easter egg. I'm sure you guys are going to love this one. Plus, how to maximize your monowire's damage in Cyberpunk, clearing the confusion around the game's most powerful melee weapon. This is going to help you guys out to really maximize that damage for this weapon. A lot of you guys are wondering, hey, Robbie, how is Cyberpunk doing right now since Edgerunners release? That's a great question. So check this out right here. Here's the numbers currently, 35,000 players on right now. We had a peak of 48,000 players today. You can see that it kind of went up around the weekend. That does make sense, but it has kind of mellowed out for sure, which again, definitely makes sense. But man, Edgerunners really had a huge impact on the game, a 625% increase of, engagement on the game. Concurrent went up to 136,724. So I think this is going to make CD Projekt RED pay a lot more attention to how they time releases of anime and that sort of thing. Because can you imagine a game like Cyberpunk releasing perfectly and then they nail down the release in time like an anime that releases like once a week, and it would just up the engagement even more and make the community more vibrant for sure. But let's go ahead and talk about what is going on with Unreal Engine 5.1 future highlights. Let's switch on over here. Check it out right here. This is an official video, by the way, from Unreal Engine, of course. And as you can see, they first start out showcasing this cyberpunk-esque type city, as you can see, and it made my jaw drop. And I feel like, in a way, they are kind of celebrating their new partnership with CD Projekt RED. And there is a lot going on here with nanite technology and the world building tools that they will be introducing with Unreal Engine 5, because it's going to make building open worlds much easier, but also the fidelity is going to remain if you zoom clear out and, if you are, of course, more in intimate space. Now, they also did talk a lot about virtual production, which, of course, we do know that CD Projekt RED is going to be continuing the theme of single-player narrative-driven RPG experiences. And this is something that I imagine that they would be utilizing in the future, and it would, make Cyberpunk Orion even more of an attractive game for sure. Now, animation and rigging, they did talk a little bit about that as well, and it's just going to be making the process so much easier, attaching different objects together, and it's going to make development a lot quicker for the studios, which makes me, wonder about the team size, because we did hear that, yes, they are aiming for about 350 to 500 people for the Cyberpunk Orion team, which I was like, that sounds way too small. I was honestly concerned about that, and now I'm less concerned after seeing the tool set that they will be utilizing with Unreal Engine 5. It's going to be super impressive that they are going to be able to build these worlds very quickly and also animate quickly, and basically really utilize that team size more efficiently for sure. So yeah, now I'm wondering if the team size is just right, and I'm also curious to see if this is going to help them out big time with the Witcher saga, of course, which are going to be trying to develop like many different Witcher games simultaneously. What they're doing is pretty insane over there at CD Projekt RED. But yeah, I can kind of see where they're coming from now after seeing, this demonstration for sure. But yeah, this definitely gets me hyped for Cyberpunk Orion. And again, the studio, they haven't even begun work on Cyberpunk Orion. We have to wait for them to finish up work on, of course, Phantom Liberty first, and then we'll get to finally see maybe or hear about what they're going to be doing with the Cyberpunk sequel. All right, so let's keep going with the news, shall we? So yes, mentioning CD Projekt RED, Palasasco had some interesting words right here. Check it out. It says the quest director, Mr. Palasasco, talks about inaccessible locations and explains what it would take to prepare them for players. And this was posted by Camille Cicero, I believe it is. Thank you for posting this, but check out what he had to say right here.
So Tango wrote, "Hey, I know that you cannot talk about future content. Here you go. Everything. But think about opening more places in the city. There's so many blocked doors. I need an incentive to explore the city one more time." It's a very, very cool question and aspect, Tango. There's a bunch of different things. It's not about us actually trying and wanting to really keep the places locked, right? We naturally would want to fucking open everything. It's few things. First of all, is that we will have to add shit ton more graphics prefabs. Basically, what prefabs are, for those who don't know, are I don't know actually how to explain it for people who don't know. Prefabs are a system of creating basically box-in-a-box system that allows you to basically create very complex level structures. Sort of. Some engines have it, Red Engine does. So basically what we have to do, add bazillion fucking more interiors. What it would cause a significant RAM memory usage spike and frame rate drop. And it's incredibly, the Night City is already incredibly packed. It is the most dense and the biggest city that was, I think, ever created. I don't think what can compete with that. All other cities that we have in games are very flat or very simple or very basic when it comes to graphical fidelity, just because of that. So first thing is just technical, the game needs to run first and foremost. Second aspect, my friend, is simply a production aspect, is that this is an insane amount of work, adding this much more. If we are talking, because you mentioned opening much more, I'm right now talking about possibly opening everything. It's just an incredible amount of work to make it done. It's basically years. It's years of work. But doing that work is pointless because the game wouldn't run. It's just way too big and too much, for it to handle. So there's always a limit. You always, as a dev, you need to balance very carefully, what you're actually putting into your game with the fidelity, how it works actually. You need to make sure that you guys can play it well and have fun with it, because you wouldn't want to enter every interior but not be able to run your game, right? I don't think that's what you want. So I hope I explained it well enough, But I'm not saying that this is impossible. This is at all. This is what I didn't say, right? Because we have, for instance, added apartments, for you in patch 1.5, was it? I believe, right? And those are big locations, big prefabs with a lot of graphics there, a ton of new interactions inside, some new animations and so on. This is all using the memory, obviously. And it was doable. But we are talking about four apartments, right? And you asked about opening many more. I talked about possibly opening a lot of them. So of course, the scope is really important here. But we really need to be mindful about production reality, how much work it takes, and then making sure it actually runs well.
So yeah, that's kind of a bummer to hear that it would be so difficult to really fully flesh out interiors for a lot of the buildings in Night City, but it does make sense that it would bog down the engine for sure, because streaming that part of the world would be very difficult. However, I do wonder if it would be possible just to introduce at that point some loading screens, because I would not mind loading screens for entering mega buildings. That's just me. So I think that would be one of the ways they could solve this problem. But from what I see with Cyberpunk, they really do not like loading screens whatsoever. They use elevators and things like that for like secret hidden loading screens, but I think it would make sense for them to do that. Of course, they are more about Unreal Engine 5 right now, and I feel like it would be, I guess you would say, a betrayal to the new partnership with Epic for them to continue working on Red Engine in any way, shape, or form. They got to get busy with Unreal 5 tech and really displaying that, showcasing that, showing it off, and things like that. So yeah, they're going to make that move after Phantom Liberty onto Unreal Engine 5 and Cyberpunk Orion. And kind of, I hope, you know, update Cyberpunk somewhat, but they're going to leave the updates, I think, to modders. All right, so let's keep going. We're going to talk about, yes, the monowire. You know, it's one of my favorite weapons in the game, and you can make this thing so powerful, but there is some confusion around how to actually up the damage on this thing. Let's clear that confusion right now. So check it out. It says, is monowire a blade? Can its damage be upgraded in the blade section? And it says, if this is not the section to upgrade monowire damage, then which one is it? So it is. It is actually the appropriate section to be in. Monowire, after the most recent updates, is now considered a bladed weapon. So if you increase damage in that category, in the blades category, you are increasing the damage of your monowire, of course. And we have some comments here about this. Check it out. It says, projectile launchers are the only ARM cyberware that doesn't have an associated skill to improve them. They really should be under assault or engineering. I couldn't agree more. In fact, you know, I really wish that they would kind of course, join that together with grenades. It makes sense to me that if you're going to be able to upgrade explosive damage or any type of explosive damage with your perks and skills, that would, of course, attach itself to the projectile launcher. I feel like it's the most underwhelming thing right now in the game currently. Now, also, this was said right here, the hand rockets are so cool, but the lack of a perk attached to them makes them utter garbage compared to anything else. It's literally better for me to keep shooting my pistol that I put perks into than a rocket launcher I've embedded into my forearm. And not just a little better, it's vastly more effective. Something is wrong there. So I'm crossing my fingers as CD Projekt RED is really paying attention to this sort of feedback and that we can get a new playstyle introduced perhaps through update 1.7 or even the expansion. But that sort of thing, that sort of update should be free, of course. So I'm hoping update 1.7 is going to be the answer to that one. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the Takamura Easter egg right here. Check this out. This is a really cool discovery. This comes from Necktie Clip, who says, anyone else notice how they compromised with what they wanted to eat during the Gimme Danger mission? I think it was a pretty nice detail. And if we zoom in here to see what Takamura and V decided on to eat, we could see both a pizza and, of course, sushi. And for context, if you did miss this, check this out right here. We have an explanation from Necktie Clip, who says this, context for those who might have forgotten or missed it. In the game, at the start of the lookout, V suggested getting pizza since it'll take a while. Takamura scoffed at the thought and then said sushi would be better. Fast forward to their heart-to-heart chat. We see half pizza and half sushi in the pizza box. There is hope for humanity after all. I just thought that was so cool to see, you know, that they were really friends and were willing to compromise on at least what they're going to eat and didn't go to war over food. You know what I mean? So I thought that was very, very cool to see for sure. All right, so now it is time to get into your top comments. So be sure to leave a comment down below about this video because it could end up in a future Cyberpunk video. I always love highlighting your guys' comments. So let's go and check out what my most recent video was about right here. It says, this is very big for the future of CD Projekt RED, or Cyberpunk 2077. CD Projekt RED continues to amaze with big moves. And the thing is, yes, the Witcher 3 Next Gen update is going to be free, but it's also going to be including some mods in there on all versions, even the console versions, which is really cool. And that alone gives me some hope that perhaps, yes, some of the best mods would eventually be coming to consoles in some sort of free update for Cyberpunk 2077. especially through perhaps a definitive edition of the game. So I think that could potentially happen. Now, let's go ahead and talk about your top comments. Let's get into this. So Bob says this: if CD Projekt RED or modders start populating those empty buildings in Night City with mini quests, heists, scavenge hunt, events, etc., Cyberpunk has the chance of becoming one of the richest and most engrossing games of all time. And I still think this is possible, despite what Paolo Sasco did say about streaming and limitations and things like that. The way modders could do it is, again, through a loading screen, so that they don't have to really worry about cluttering, I guess you would say, the midnight Night City location in such a way where it bogs down the engine, which is a concern and a problem when you are streaming it kind of in a live way against the open world. Now we have Tyrell Sims, who says this: they should do some work with the radio in Night City. They should have like funny talk radio stations that talks about events around Night City. It would be dope to hear a DJ in Night City on the radio explaining things he sees around Night City, or even tell stories of times they saw V punch a hole through someone with the gorilla arms, or double jump over traffic with super leg mod. It makes the world feel more realistic. And I feel like one game that did this so well was GTA 4 and GTA 5, of course, but the GTA franchise, in my opinion, does the radio a little bit better than Cyberpunk in some ways. But I absolutely love how the radio station has, I guess you would say, royalty-free music on it, in a sense, where you don't have to worry about being copyright strike when you're streaming it and stuff like that. That is a huge accomplishment, and no one really talks about that enough, in my opinion. Now, let's go ahead and talk about Paul's comment right here. He says, I'm doing another playthrough now, just finished a small gig where I had to steal back this dude's eyeballs before depositing them in a Dropbox. I need to clear up another area of goons. Went back a short time later, and the bodies were gone and NPC had repopulated in the area. Would have been really cool to see NCPD or trauma team there analyzing the scene. This kind of stuff would really give more life to the open world, where your actions have consequences, not just in the story, but the open world as well. Shame the CD Projekt RED devs didn't have the resources to follow through, I suppose. Yeah, that would have been cool to see that sort of reactive world for sure, kind of reacting to what you have done, and there be consequences and things like that. But yeah, it just didn't happen, of course, for Cyberpunk 2077. I think a lot of this stuff would have ended up in the game, of course, if it hadn't been for the rough launch and problems during development and that sort of thing. But there it is, the latest happenings around Cyberpunk 2077. This Unreal Engine 5.1 highlight right here is so impressive, and I cannot wait to see what Cyberpunk Orion looks like, because in my opinion, this is just the beginning. Of course, you would have to see pedestrians programmed into your NPCs and that sort of thing, but the tool set is so impressive for Unreal Engine 5. Cannot wait to see what CD Projekt RED does with it. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Cyberpunk and open world gaming goodness, and I will see you all next time. Take care.